To keep yourself updated, subscribe to Indigo Learn and click the bell icon and download our app OneFin to start learning on the go.
A CA in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he allows any person to practice in his name as a chartered accountant unless such a person is also a chartered accountant in practice and either is a partner with him or he is an employee, or that means he has been in employment by himself. Got it? That means what they are telling, that a CA in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct when the CA is allowing any other person to practice in his name, okay, as a chartered accountant, unless this other person is a chartered accountant in practice and either he is a partner or he is an employee of him. Okay, now this we'll understand with a example so that things become very, very simple. Okay, now assume there is this particular chartered accountant who is newly qualified. He is CA Basu. Okay, CA Basu is a newly qualified chartered accountant and he applied to the institute for the COP and he has got a COP. Now what he thinks is, before he establishes or starts his practice or starts his own office for his professional practice, he decided that he will gain some kind of practical and some professional experience by working with somebody or maybe under somebody for some days and get the required knowledge, skill, and then start his own practice. What he realized is, Mr. Basu's father had one of a very good friend, okay, and who was a chartered accountant and a very well established practice. So Mr. Basu went to his father and said, I need some kind of experience. So why don't you talk to your friend and ask him to allow me to sit in his office for some days so that I can get some experience that I require, some kind of expertise, some knowledge that I want. Mr. Father obviously will listen to the kid, and so the father goes to the friend and asks his help. And obviously friends always help. So what this friend did, he said, okay, no problem, ask him and come and sit in my office for some days, and with this he'll be able to learn, understand everything. Mr. Basu becomes very happy and he actually goes to the office of the relative. Maybe he is Mr. Z, okay. So Mr. Basu visits Mr. Z's office and they have a nice conversation where Mr. Z says, yeah, Mr. Basu, you can come to my office every day. For next 6 months, you could visit the office. You could actually have a separate chamber for yourself. You can actually sit there and you can learn along with us. And Mr. Basu started coming to office regularly. He also started giving some kind of personal consultancy to the clients of Mr. Z. He started representing some of the clients in tax matters, okay, under the in front of the income tax department. He started, representing the clients. He also started doing some kind of GST returns, IT returns, everything he started filing. Okay, for this particular Mr. Z, he started doing all of this. Now what happens is 6 months were over and he is neither the employee, okay, because salary was not paid to him. Neither he was a partner, obviously, because there is no partnership that they have entered. So what he was getting is no salary he was getting and there was no share of profit because he is not a partner. But what happened was Mr. Z, out of courtesy, he started reimbursing all the expenses which Mr. Basu was expending as a part of this all professional work. So he started reimbursing back all the expenses. Now here Mr. Basu was neither employee nor he was the partner, because if you look at the criteria also, he just sat in the office where a separate place was given to him. He was providing consultancy, but neither he got salary as an employee nor he got share of profit because he was not a partner. So, and he got only what reimbursement of expenses, and only because the work that he was doing was all with respect to the clients of Mr. Z, because of which he got reimbursed for all the expense. This went on for a period of 6 months, and then what happened was, at the end of 6 months, when he was leaving the office, when he thought he got enough experience, Mr. Z handed over him around 2 lakh rupees out of gratitude that yes, you have worked with me for 6 long months, you have worked a lot in my firm, you have worked with multiple clients of mine, you have done a lot of my work. So out of gratitude, he has given him 2 lakh rupees as lump sum for this particular work that he has done. Now in this case, tell me, is Mr. Z going to be guilty of professional misconduct? Under the first clause of the part 1 to the first schedule that we discussed now, do you think he'll be guilty? Now let us, having understood the entire scenario, now let us do a little detailed discussion of understanding it. First of all, Mr. Basu, was he a practicing chartered accountant? Was he holding a COP? The first condition fulfilled, no problem. You can work with a chartered accountant in practice. But then this is telling, if somebody else is is practicing in your name, okay, that means Mr. Basu was practicing in the name of whom? Mr. Z. So for that, the condition first they have told us what? He should be a practicing chartered accountant. So that is fine, no problem. Mr. Basu is holding a certificate of practice. He is a practicing chartered accountant. But then understand the clause 1 is putting one more condition there because the word is used and. Along with that, this Mr. Basu should either be employee of Mr. Z or he should be partner of Mr. Z. Now in this case, Mr. Basu is a practicing chartered accountant, we have no problem with it. But tell me, is he employee of Mr. Z? The answer is no. Is he a partner of Mr. Z? The answer is no. Now in this case, what Mr. Basu was doing, that means he was practicing in the name of Mr. Z. Did Mr. Z allow him to practice? Though he was a chartered accountant in practice, was he an employee or was he a partner of Mr. Z? The answer is no. So when Mr. Z is allowing Mr. Basu to practice as a name without being a partner or the employee, then in this case, Mr. Z will be guilty of professional misconduct under clause 1 of part 1 to the schedule, first schedule. Is the concept clear? So the basic understanding is you have to pick up those particular pointers. You have to pick up those particular things which are telling you about the clause. So what is the clause telling? First of all, a CA in practice will be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if, who is CA in practice here? Mr. Z. Now will he be guilty or not? First of all, see, did he allow? If he allows any other person to practice in his name. Now tell me, Mr. Basu, is there other person who was practicing in the name of Mr. Z because he was filing the tax returns, GST returns, representing the client? Everything he was not doing in his capacity. He was doing in the capacity representing whom? Say, or Mr. Z that we can say. Got it? Now, so did you allow any other person to practice here? Yes. In your name? Yes. Was he a chartered accountant? No problem. Yes, Mr. Basu is a practicing chartered accountant. But was he your employee? No. Was he your partner? No. Then in this case, Mr. Z will be considered to be guilty of professional misconduct. Understandable? So this is with regard to the clause 1. So once again, for a clarity, now when you read, you will follow it very clearly. A CA in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he allows any person to practice in his name as the chartered accountant unless that other person is a chartered accountant who is in practice and either he is an employee or in partnership with the chartered accountant in practice. Is the point clear? Alright. So this is the clause 1. Okay. I am very sure you will crystal clear understand. So here you need to check with what? Member, partner or employee. Also, if suppose Mr. Basu was not a chartered accountant only, then in that case the question only doesn't come. If he was not a practicing chartered accountant, the discussion will stop there. You are automatically in the very first phase what? Guilty of professional misconduct. Because we are providing you the employee and the partner's criteria. When you fulfill the first criteria that what? Mr. Basu had to be what? A practicing chartered accountant. If at the very outset, if he is not a practicing chartered accountant, he is just a normal accountant, then in that case, the clause will stop reading there itself. Because he is not a member of the institute itself. He is not a practicing chartered accountant itself. So obviously Mr. Z will be guilty of professional misconduct without discussing further about being an employee or a partner. Because the condition is you have to be CA in practice and then the second criteria is what? You look into partnership or the employment. Only then we'll say that the conditions are fulfilled.